I lost you again. Hello.
We'll start shortly, Mr. Arvind. We'll just wait for a
Okay.
few more people to join and then we'll start shortly.
Okay. Okay. Sure.
In the meantime, we can just drop a message in our communities real quick so that people.
Okay. So, are you able to hear me well? I mean,
Yes,
it's good,
it's loud and
right?
clear. Yeah, all good.
Okay. Okay. Fine. I think yeah, you're breaking in between, but
Okay,
it's okay.
all right.
Yeah, probably some internet.
All right, okay. Works. Super. We'll just start our live session in another couple of minutes and we'll be delving into the world of Web3, crypto, and blockchain really soon. Probably another few seconds and then we will go live.
Okay. Sure. And when you put forward your questions, also put them in chat, so that even if I miss, I mean, even if your voice is breaking, I'll be able to take that.
All right, works. We can do that. All right, we'll start our live session now. Thank you so much, everyone who's joined. And in today's session, we have with us Mr. Arvind. He is one of the pioneers in the Web3 space in India, and we'll be talking a lot about the Web3 blockchain and crypto space throughout this show. But first of all, thank you so much for joining us today, Mr. Arvind. How are you doing?
Yeah, I'm doing great, Varuni, and thanks for the invite. And indeed, we are in very interesting times. Last 2 days, we saw US SEC suing both Binance and Coinbase. So we are in very interesting times of crypto. So let's see. I mean, let's discuss some of the insights and
Absolutely. Absolutely. We have been in pretty interesting times since I would say the last year. And in fact, ever since Bitcoin reached the all time high, we have seen quite a bit of euphoria, followed by a massive fear in the market for cryptocurrencies. And you being an entrepreneur in this space, could you first enlighten our viewers today about what exactly do you do? What sort of firm do you have? And how did you basically enter the Web3 space?
okay. So, see, my journey in blockchain as a technology got started somewhere in 2016-17. And that is when we saw the kind of raise in terms of crypto projects on the public blockchain space. But also, interestingly, you might have also seen the rise of enterprise blockchain as well. So indeed, my journey in blockchain is both into public blockchain and permissioned blockchain.
Mhm.
And if you look at the company IDS, which I'm heading, the blockchain practice of the company is what I'm heading as the vice president. And we are working both on public blockchain space and enterprise blockchain space. And I think both of these things are going hand in hand. Now, coming to Web3. See, basically, if you carefully look at the Web 1 and Web 2, which I think people are still now talking about Web 5. So,
Yeah.
to set the context of Web 3,
Mm.
one significant difference is with respect to who controls the data, right?
Yeah.
See, I mean, Web 3 is not a rocket science. It is just that who is controlling the data. Is it the user or the service
Mhm.
provider? Because if we see the Web 1, what we used long back, it's
Mhm.
read only web, right? We can just read. It's only consuming the data from the static websites we had. But then if you look at Web 2, it is read and write, where we are able to consume the data, but also write, like update, upload data into the system. But the point is, these applications which we see in Web 2, be it Google, Facebook, or Twitter, Instagram,
Mm.
here you are the one who is the owner of the data,
Yeah.
but the service provider is the one who controls it.
Absolutely.
I think in the name of free applications, we lost our control, and I think that is what significantly happened in Web 2. But of
Yeah.
course, I think at that time the server infrastructure or the backend infrastructure is like
Mm.
most server client application, and it's not to blame on the service provider suddenly that we woke up and we are blaming them. Rather, we used them all these years in a good way, right? But still, somehow the control of the data is being misused in many instances by these service providers, and suddenly the element of digital trust came up, right?
Mm.
And
Yeah.
also we increasingly became global, and today there is war, like, okay, who is controlling the data of citizens of the country, right? Suddenly governments also wake up, and they talk about the data sovereignty, right? And personal GDPR, PDPI. So all these things came up just because the service providers now started getting into political governance or the governance of the data, right? So I think if you carefully observe, as we see in any Web2 application, we have a backend and we have a front end.
Yeah.
Backend, the governance is with respect to the service provider, front end
Mm.
access with respect to user. And that is why if you carefully use any Web2 application has this word called account, right?
Mm.
Facebook account, Instagram account, and you take Gmail account. It's an
Mm.
account, right? But the beauty with Web3, if you carefully observe, which is powered by blockchain technology,
Mm.
is each user has a wallet,
Yeah.
right? Now, what is the difference between account and wallet?
Mm.
Account is just an access point,
Mm.
okay? And your data is controlled by someone else. But
Yeah.
if you look at Web3, wallet is
Mm.
something which user has or user controls, and all the data, be it storage of files or credentials, or it's not just tokens, right? See, it all started with crypto,
Yeah.
but of course
Absolutely.
we know blockchain evolved into something bigger than that. And
Mm.
anything of value can be stored on blockchain, and we can do transactions, and we can also get verifications done. So I think in that context, blockchain should be seen as internet of value rather than internet of crypto,
Mm.
right?
Absolutely.
And I think
Absolutely.
that is what everyone is now slowly started talking about.
Mm.
So to put in brief, Web3 is all about democratization of IT infrastructure in the backend, and having a distributed governance in the backend,
Mm.
while also giving power of the ownership of data to the users,
Mm.
and they hold their data in their wallet. And tomorrow suddenly I see a new service provider who is good, okay,
Mm.
I can go connect my wallet, okay, and give new way of interaction to my data,
Right.
right? So I
Ex-
think in that context, Web3 is all read,
Yeah.
write, but own.
Hmm.
Okay, so from read only web, we move to read and write web, and now we are moving towards read, write, own web.
Yeah.
So that is my way of looking at Web3.
Absolutely. So that is a pretty different and it's a pretty unique way of looking at Web3, I would say. However, what you said about ownership and democratization, I think those are really powerful words, and that is something that we still aim to achieve with Web3, and that is the idea. However, if we look at your journey, Mr. Arvind, from I'm sure that you had you did something before Web3 and probably in tech or finance. Could you give our viewers a little bit about what were you into before you got into blockchain technology and Web3, and how exactly did this space lure you into it?
Okay. See, one significant see again, if you look at Varuni, it's not just the public blockchains.
Yeah.
Today, I lead projects, CBDC projects with couple of central banks across the
Mm.
world. Okay, in
Mm.
Southeast Asia and African continent.
Mm.
Now, to give an example, if you look at Central Bank of Nigeria, okay, so if you look at African continent, the kind of crypto adoption went so much that
Mm.
central bank suddenly started seeing the technology and started
Absolutely.
adopting it. So one significant thing which I see in blockchain is people talk about disintermediation, and people talk about I mean self-regulated protocol, right? See,
Yeah.
in blockchain everything is protocol driven, right? But
Yeah.
protocol, so see, one important point is people think blockchain doesn't have a regulation. I think that
Hmm.
is one myth which is to be broken, because of course every blockchain network has regulation, but
Yeah.
which is encoded as to be followed by a protocol. Now a
Hmm.
protocol is governing it, right? So previously regulator is writing some policies, okay, on
Hmm.
paper, and all the stakeholders are following it, maybe on paper, we don't know. And that is why you have a lot of compliance audit overhead on the organizations.
Hmm.
But if you look at blockchain, basically what it does is the policies can be codified as a protocol, and
Yeah.
any stakeholder going out of scope of the protocol or rules is immediately identified and it
Hmm.
prevents. So for
Hmm.
me, blockchain is all about execution of the policy in an effective
Yeah.
way.
Hmm.
Okay, I think this is one significant shift in mindset which is
Yeah.
happening across. Okay, so today if you look at Bank of International Settlements, which is
Hmm.
consortium of 60 plus central banks, is
Yeah.
doing more rigorous blockchain and DLT based payment rails than the crypto which we are seeing in public blockchain.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think in that context, of course, you take any technology paradigm, right? There
Hmm.
is always a divergence, right, where we explore multiple ideas or multiple ways of getting things done,
Hmm.
and we take the best of these ideas and then converge into one better idea, right?
Yeah.
And then again we diverge. So I think in that context, if you look at Web3, what
Hmm.
happened in 2008 and 2000, say 15, 16, is all
Yeah.
divergence. Okay.
Hmm.
People are just going with use cases and no one knows what they are working on. No one knows what they are buying on.
Absolutely.
But I think now there is careful, careful elimination of
Yeah.
unsustainable, right, no utility based use cases, and slowly we are filtering them to bring certain use cases, and who will dominate, whether it will be public blockchain or private blockchain, is
Yeah.
to be seen.
Yeah. Definitely, that is something that we will find out, I'm sure, in not a few years, but maybe a few months. If we talk about the current scenario, cryptocurrencies do not have the greatest limelight. While they do, it's not entirely, we can't entirely say that it is positive publicity, so to say, with the regulatory concerns around centralized exchanges and the entire narrative that has been on with the US SEC, and that has been on since XRP and even before that. So, and we know that in India, again, the conditions aren't as bright. So, when we look at, and you recently mentioned, Mr. Arvind, that you were involved in a few of the CBDC projects across the globe. So, if you look at regulators across the globe, what sort of a narrative is in play at this point from regulators?
Okay, see, one,
Yeah.
people, you can't see now the fight. If I carefully observe, the fight with respect to money is
Mhm.
happening where, should I have a choice or a freedom,
Mhm.
okay, or should
Yeah.
I stick with my currency or whatever currency being given by the country,
Mhm.
okay, whether the monetary policy is being effectively managed or not.
Yeah.
Okay, see, there is fight between these two things
Yes.
now. And I think the consensus between central banks or the
Hmm.
consensus between public,
Yeah.
which will happen first, will decide
Yeah.
whether
True.
we will go with a cross border payment rail across the world, where all the central banks come into consensus with respect to a unit, a monetary unit.
Yeah.
Because today, if you carefully observe, US wants its currency to be the dominant, right?
Hmm.
And China wants its, right? And we already saw the global currency. Different countries have different views on what currency to be used as a standard currency, for all their transactions.
Hmm.
Right? So there is already decentralization happening.
Absolutely.
Now, another interesting thing which I say, now if you take Europe, they
Hmm.
have their own currency which they
Yeah.
use across the countries, correct?
Right.
Now soon African continent is coming up with their own
Hmm.
pan-African currency called as ECO.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you take Southeast Asia, now we see India is having a lead, bringing UPI and penetrating
Hmm.
all instant payment rails are getting integrated across the countries, right? Today our UPI is connected to Singapore's instant payment rail.
Yeah.
Okay, and you Thailand and Bhutan, Nepal. So what I am seeing is the future of currency is a multi-corridor CBDC networks.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, and
Hmm.
public blockchain is something truly global. But the
Hmm.
problem again, now coming to public blockchain. So
Hmm.
one point I want to highlight is having consensus between all central banks in the world to use one currency as a unit of value or money is something which is not going to happen. Okay,
Okay.
if one country says my currency to be I mean to be the dominant, other country will say other currency to be dominant,
Yeah.
right? So I think in that context central banks coming into consensus, let's see
Hmm.
what BIS will bring it. Okay, now coming to public blockchain.
Hmm.
Now if you look at public blockchain,
Hmm.
fairness. Now see, we give more weightage to democracy, but the
Hmm.
point is the best of democracy is the awareness of the least aware person or least aware stakeholder in the system.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And today most of the public blockchains, okay, as you all know,
Hmm.
the public are not aware of what they are dealing with. They don't know why they are contributing or why they are coming into consensus with respect to
Hmm.
using a particular token.
Yeah.
It is more speculative in nature rather than value driven.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I think in that context, public blockchains or cryptocurrencies lack that intrinsic value proposition.
Hmm.
Okay, it's only the cost effectiveness in terms of transactions, I mean speed
Right.
and cost. Now
Hmm.
these two anyways will be covered by CBDC networks. So
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
now regulators are very clear. See, they are fighting crypto because they know speed and cost can be brought down. If you carefully observe, BIS have already mandated all the central banks to bring the cost of cross-border payments less than 1%
Hmm.
by
Right.
2027.
Hmm.
Now tell me, post 2027, if I do a Bitcoin transaction or a cross-border CBDC payment rail-based transaction, okay,
Yeah.
if my cost of transaction and speed of transaction is as good as that,
Yeah.
then what is the value proposition of crypto?
Hmm.
I'm not against crypto, but you're getting the point. Now, what
Absolutely.
is the additional value proposition which can be brought by cryptocurrency?
Hmm.
I'll explain that. I'll give answer to that. Okay.
Hmm.
I'm just poking the minds of the audience. What
Yeah.
would be the value proposition of crypto if traditional payment rails can bring speed, cost, which is on par with the cryptocurrencies?
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
So the point is utility based cryptocurrencies, not speculative based cryptocurrencies,
Yeah.
is the future. Okay.
No, makes sense. Absolutely.
Now, to give you an example, imagine all
Hmm.
the AI engineers in the world formed a community
Yeah.
and they have brought up certain services and they want to collaborate.
Hmm.
Okay. And they want some economics to happen within the community.
Hmm.
A skill based community can have a utility token which can be
Yeah.
used as a medium of exchange of value within that community, which is
Hmm.
global. Because today crypto is focusing more on the value side of the thing rather than utility side of the things.
Yeah.
and that is where the use cases are lacking.
Hmm.
Okay, so I think now people started realizing, see, now today
Hmm.
if a new coin gets listed on an exchange, people are not just jump starting and buying them, correct?
Hmm.
So what does that mean? people
There is
learned
absolutely.
People learned what is crypto the hardest way, by losing money.
Yeah.
Okay, and I think that kind of things should not repeat and will
Hmm.
not repeat, and I think that is part of the process, because we saw these hype cycles in any technology, right?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Today suddenly all Web3 experts have turned into AI experts and started pushing to
Yeah, with
VCs,
some jokes around
which
that.
is again well known. Now let me tell you a simple thing. What is Chat GPT, right?
Yeah.
It is a backend infrastructure. Now, when Google search came, which is a search engine for the whole world, or whole world wide web, every website also got that search functionality, correct?
Yeah, absolutely.
Where we can search what is content in that particular website. Yes.
Hmm. Yeah.
Now, the same intelligence or general intelligence will be integrated with each of the application in their context. Now, that's
Hmm.
not a rocket science, and it gives certain marginal benefit as a, I mean, as a differentiator.
Yeah.
I think that is the kind of shift which has to happen
Hmm.
from the venture capitalists, angel investors, or the people who invest, right?
Hmm.
But also
Hmm.
the founders who are building applications. Because now, say for example, what we are building is Polyversity, an educational
Yeah.
metaverse. Okay, and we are building Bharat Blockchain Network, which is an educational consortium
Hmm.
network. Okay, which has a utility token, and
Hmm.
this also has a 3D creator economy. Now, learning is one use case based on which we are building certain utility, and we
Hmm.
are bringing the use case of a utility coin and all.
Yeah. So you're
Okay,
suggesting that
just
absolutely, I completely agree that utility should be at the base of each technology. And you rightly pivoted towards the discussion of AI, because I think I was about to, that would have been my next question. What are your views on the hype cycle that AI is undergoing currently? And what sort of a trend shift do you see in terms of adoption of AI across the globe in the next few months?
see, again, if you carefully observe, all this generative AI which we are talking today
Yeah.
is backed by a large language model which
Hmm.
needs to churn huge volumes of data.
Yeah.
And it's only few companies who have such access.
Hmm.
Okay. And the governance of that particular large language model, how it works, is something which is fishy,
Yeah, absolutely.
which is not known, again, because it is centralized.
Hmm.
So rather than talking AI, what I feel is there is a very good intersection between AI and blockchain now.
Yeah, absolutely.
The large language model, okay, the large language model governance can be decentralized, okay, and the data which is fed into this particular large language model,
Yeah.
okay, can be given by the wallet owners who are willing to contribute their data for the large language model to learn.
Got it.
And every earning which comes from that large language model, okay, get distributed to all the stakeholders.
Hmm.
See, this is the real liquidity pool. What do you
Ab-
think?
Absolutely.
It's not just dumping some random tokens and trying to do some manipulation by doing false transaction volumes and doing it. What is the
Yeah.
impact? What is the value we are adding to the ecosystem?
Hmm. Absolutely.
So I think the liquidity is not money. It's
Hmm.
not speculative tokens. The liquidity is the data.
Yeah.
The foundations are still same, whether it is Web 1, Web 2, Web 3.
Hmm.
The value is in data.
Absolutely.
The value is in governance.
Hmm.
Okay. Now no longer governance need not be centralized.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It can be decentralized, and there is a model which is perfectly working fine. So
Hmm.
for me, success of Bitcoin is not how much a person who invested in Bitcoin got.
Yeah.
Okay. For me, success of Bitcoin is how much it pushed the incumbents, okay, not to sit on lords, but wake up and start working and leveraging the technology.
Yeah, makes
So
sense.
for me, the success of Bitcoin is BIS and all central banks trying to adopt this new technology
Hmm.
and making themselves efficient.
Hmm. Right.
That is success of crypto.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That has to be.
So, so any further questions?
Hi. I think I lost you for a moment there.
Oh, okay,
We're
sorry. Yeah. So I was just waiting for the next yeah, question.
we're almost heading, and I was saying that I completely agree with your point that the foundations are still the same, and data would still play a very important role in the entire digital economy across the globe. And since we're almost heading towards the end of our session, I think in between you mentioned that there's a huge potential in the convergence of blockchain and AI as technologies. So, what are your expectations from this convergence in this year? And in general, if you look at the general narrative around cryptocurrencies and blockchain technology, what are your biggest expectations from this technology in this year?
So I think, especially with respect to cryptocurrency, all layer ones
Hmm.
or layer twos, right, and layer zeros. Now people are also talking about layer zeros. I
Yeah.
think this year, predominantly, what I see is more and more standardization and more introspection with respect to what is the utility they want to provide. I think this is what uh, this year is all about. Every protocol is trying to figure out their positioning,
Yeah. Their market value, brand value. True, true.
right? And it's no longer giving grants and pushing the transaction volumes,
Yeah,
okay? That is no longer going to work.
absolutely.
And I think that can't sustain their protocols. I think this is one of the very good realization, because see, we are closely working with Hyperledger, Hedera, Polygon, Near
Yeah.
protocol. Okay, so we are implementation partners, dev shop
Hmm.
partners, and system integrators for these protocols.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
one of the key thing what I have been observing is they are now seeing what is the utility and what is the value of the project which is to be deployed on their network.
Hmm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
that is okay. And I think with respect to users, I think this what is this called as, just because I have 10,000 mails in my email box, will it make me valuable?
Absolutely not.
So similarly, all these Telegram groups, Discord communities, where people join, connect their wallet, and get those free tokens, right? Right? Is becoming like getting more emails and thinking that you are valuable.
That would not be the case anymore, right?
No, no longer. Okay.
Yeah.
So all that airdrops, that token
Hmm.
volumes which are being given to push the community,
Yeah.
and you push it to one step, but what next? What is the motive for that community to keep using that, right? Again, nails down to the utility side of the thing. So all the communities or the users or the people who are investing, right, I think they are now slowly moving to the utility side of the things.
Yeah.
And coming to the enterprise blockchain, it's very
Hmm.
bright,
Hmm.
very bright, because it's not that I'm just saying, all the traditional incumbent players realized the value proposition of blockchain, and they are making themselves efficient by using the capabilities like smart contract, automatic reconciliation of data, or cross organizational workflow interactions are getting optimized. So there is a lot of effort going on ground which is not visible maybe at the moment,
Yeah.
but
Good.
incumbent players are now hitting every possible nail, okay, uh, which came up with the voice of freedom.
Yeah.
Okay, because with freedom comes responsibility, and
Mm,
if the people who have freedom is not responsible enough on how to use it,
yeah.
then the regulators are always saying, no, no, see, we told you, right?
Yeah.
Regulation, I mean, they will fail. But the point is, now more and more aware, more and more utility oriented or value oriented community is what has come. And I think the next cycle of crypto will be more stronger, better, and value
Yeah.
oriented.
Absolutely. Couldn't agree more. And we do have one question from one of our viewers who says that can you throw some light on NFTs and what is going to be in the future for NFTs as a market? And a really interesting question, Mr. Arvind. Would you like to address that?
Yeah, definitely. See, what is NFT? Basically, it's a piece of data where which you own in your wallet, and you can prove to someone else that you own it.
Yeah.
Correct. So I think in that context, the content creation with AI or with generative AI has become
Yeah.
easy, right? Now, for the value of data created by humans should be higher than the data which is generated by large language models. Agree?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right? Now, if that is the case, how can human generated content, okay,
Mm,
get certain identity that it is generated by human?
mm,
It can only happen through NFTs. So I think AI is actually pushing the use cases of public blockchain like
yeah.
NFTs.
True.
And again, as I highlighted, it's not the NFTs perceptional value or face value or
Mm,
speculative value, but
yeah.
the intrinsic value or the utility value which it adds to the buyer or the one who is using that. Now today, if you look at the good use cases of NFT, event ticketing, right, skill
Yeah.
badges,
There
right.
is utility. Yeah.
So if you carefully observe, intellectual property is being made NFT, and someone who is using it pays something back to the one who created that intellectual property. And in our Polyversity metaverse, we are creating a learner content. I mean, a creator economy for learning content, where people can create some 3D model for learning, and anyone who is using it is paying back, and a part of it goes back with the smart contract automatically.
Wow.
I think the creator economy
Hmm.
still on, NFTs are still on, but no
Yeah.
one will buy your NFT with millions of dollars longer.
Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Absolutely. So basically, no hype for this year, and probably a lot of building and a lot of utility.
We don't
And
look
that,
at quick money. I think the era of quick money is
hey,
gone,
everyone,
which is good,
absolutely,
which is good, which is good.
which is
Okay.
actually, yeah.
See, the crypto going down is a correction in my point of view.
Market
Okay.
correction,
It's
absolutely.
not that suddenly the value of the cryptocurrencies or the value proposition of blockchain is going down. No, it's
Yeah,
getting corrected. It's getting
yeah,
corrected. That's it.
absolutely. Pretty amazing, and what an insightful session, Mr. Arvind. And what you said completely reflected, at least with me, and I'm sure with our viewers and listeners as well. And once again, I would love to thank you for joining us today on this amazing and have this amazing chat around the fundamentals of Web3 and the future of Web3 and NFTs and cryptocurrencies as well as blockchain technology. And we hope to see you around soon. And I request all our viewers today to please go ahead and follow Mr. Arvind and keep a check on all the amazing work that him and his firm are doing. And thanks again, Mr. Arvind.
Yeah, thanks, Varuni, for hosting me, and it's always pleasure to share the insights uh, coming from my experience. And even I do follow certain voices across the ecosystem continuously to understand the pulse. And the future of blockchain and crypto is good.
Yeah.
They will exist. There is no existential threat. Even if all the central banks come up with their central bank digital currencies, let me be very open, cryptos will exist. Cryptos will
Yeah.
exist.
Yeah.
Okay?
Absolutely.
But maybe they will be coming under the securities regulation and all,
Absolutely.
and no government is against value creation.
Hmm.
Governments are against speculative activity, which can harm
Right.
the underlying economy, which they have been regulating well. I mean,
Hmm.
which we need to assume and we need to agree, though they are not.
Absolutely.
But fine, I think, yeah,
We can only hope that the hype cycle is finally over, and like you said, this is a much needed correction for the market, and there would most definitely be a lot of optimism in the market and from the technologies that will for sure take human race to hopefully another level. And we cannot of course deny that there will be a lot of regulation coming up, but it is sort of good in a way. So, once again, thank you so much, Mr. Arvind. And if you have any closing thoughts, please go ahead.
so again, blockchain being defined as internet of value, let's focus on what is the value we can add to the ecosystem or that mini economy
Mm,
what we're creating with blockchain. Okay, so
mm,
any founder or anyone who wants to build career into blockchain, please
mm,
don't come into blockchain just because you can make quick money, but
mm.
please come with the intent that you can create value across the globe
Yeah,
by launching something. So the
absolutely.
value, the kind of impact which you can do is bigger. So now you have something louder. But
Yeah,
if you shout something nonsense in that louder mic, it will only amplify the nonsense in the ecosystem, which will bring all the bad vibes from the ecosystem. And I think we should focus on value, because the value of blockchain will grow if the internet of value is focused on value. As simple as that.
absolutely. Value and utility is what we would be looking forward to this year. So
Yes.
thanks again, and thank you everyone for joining us today here at Voice of Crypto, where we get really interesting guests every Wednesday on our podcast. And today we had with us Mr. Arvind, who did point out quite a few insightful and unique narratives from the Web3 blockchain crypto space. Thanks again, Mr. Arvind, for joining us, and I'll see you again really
Yeah,
soon.
yeah, right. Yeah.
Ciao, bye bye.